Hi, this is Stories to Fall Asleep or in Love To. I'm Jo, known as the traumatized poet on social media, and I've written these stories both as a coach and as an artist to help you understand what it's like to truly be loved, seen, cared for, and fought for. I record these episodes in my cupboard. The only witnesses are a teapot named Cliff, and now you. I hope you settle, I hope you can relax, and I hope you sleep tight. Enjoy. Episode 1: Intimacy. It's late afternoon when the knock comes, not the playful rhythm he usually uses, just two quiet taps, almost like he's asking permission instead of arriving. She opens the door and sees it instantly. His shoulders are slumped, his eyes dulled. He's wearing that hoodie he pulls on when he doesn't want to be perceived. And he doesn't smile when he sees her, not really, just softens, a little like his body finally knows it can't drop the weight. "Hey," he says, voice low, barely there. She steps aside without a word, letting him in. He walks slowly like he's carrying too much in his chest, and she watches him, reading the unspoken heaviness in the curve of his back, the way he doesn't quite meet her eyes, the way he sinks into the corner of the couch like he's falling inward. "You want to talk about it?" He shrugs. She waits. After long silence, he says, "I don't know what's wrong." His voice cracks at the edges, tired and quiet. "I just woke up feeling like I was underwater. Nothing happened really, nothing new, just heavy, like something old crawled back into my chest." She nods, understanding instantly, the ache of old wounds that have no time stamp. "I don't know where else to go," he adds, eyes still distant. "I just needed somewhere that didn't ask me to be okay." "You came to the right place." He looks at her, and for the first time since he walked in, his jaw loosens. The tears don't come, but the weight begins to exhale. "I didn't want to mess up our high," he murmurs. "After everything, I didn't want to bring darkness back into this." He looks at her like he is guilty of a crime. "Hey," she whispers. "This isn't a high. This is real. Real has good days, and days like this, and I'm here for all of it." He finally softens, his eyes then, and really looks at her. "I don't feel like myself today." "That's okay," she says softly. "You don't have to be on to be loved here. You just have to be." Then she moves toward him, slowly, gently, as if touching too soon might crack the fragile air he brought with him. Then she moves toward him, slowly, gently, as if touching too soon might crack the fragile air he brought in with him. She walks over, sinks down beside him on the couch, close but not crowding. And he shifts like he's being pulled by gravity, head lowering into her lap with a soft exhale that sounds more like surrender than breath. He doesn't look at her, he just closes his eyes, and she, quietly, tenderly, begins to run her fingers through his hair. No rhythm, no patterns, just slow, thoughtful strokes. It's a small gesture, but it holds 1,000 unsaid things. Like, "I see you. You don't have to be strong right now. You are safe. Stay as long as you need." His hands find the hem of her sweater and tucks it tightly, not to pull, just to feel something anchored. Her other hand rests softly on his shoulders, grounding him even more. Minutes pass, maybe more. He doesn't speak, but she hears him anyway. The way his breathing slows, the way his brow unfurrows, the way he trusts her enough to fall apart like this, not in tears, not in words, but in stillness. She leans forward, presses a quick kiss to his temple, and in the softest whisper she says, "You don't have to know what it is. You don't have to explain. I'm here. He nods, just barely, the movement brushing against her belly. I know, he whispers back. Thank you. She doesn't reply, just continues stroking his hair. She watches him for a moment, eyes soft, steady. Then she speaks, gently, like offering a gift, but giving him the choice to unwrap it. Do you want to know what I do? She says, voice low and warm, when I feel like this. He shifts slightly, not looking up yet, just letting her words move through the fog. She lets the silence stretch, lets him be the one to meet her there. Or maybe, she continues, her hand resting now just above his heart, maybe I could show you. He tilts his head just enough to look up at her, lashes heavy, lips parted like he might cry or smile or both. I'd like that, he says. I don't think I can fix this right now, but I can follow you. She smiles then, the kind of smile that isn't about joy but presence. Good, she says softly. Then just stay with me. She brushes his hair back one last time, kisses his forehead, then eases him gently upright, takes his hand, laces their fingers. I don't promise solutions, but I know how to listen to sadness, how to sit with it without telling it to hurry up. He squeezes her hand. That's more than anyone's ever offered. And she smiles again, quiet and grounded. Then you're finally with the right person. She kisses his forehead one more time and says softly, Give me 5 minutes. He nods, still, quiet, something raw and small in his eyes, like a boy who's learning what it means to be cared for without needing to earn it. She slips from the room barefoot, leaving him on the couch, and disappears into the bedroom. The ritual begins in silence. She draws the curtains, not closed, but halfway, so only gentle, diffused light spills through. She lights 2 candles and places them on either side of the bed, anchoring the space with their flicker. Then a third at the window for whatever wants to be released. The incense burns slow and grounding, earthy with a hint of something sacred. The playlist she chooses is wordless, low hums and cello strings, soft female voices woven into mist, music that breathes with the body instead of distracting from it. She places a folded blanket at the foot of the bed, oils nearby, nothing too fragrant, just warmth, intention, and presence. When she returns to him, the air around her feels different, settled, sacred. She doesn't speak right away, she just holds out her hand. He takes it. She leads him to the bedroom like she's stepping into something ancient and true. The clothes stay on, she says gently, smiling at his raised brow. Maybe just remove the jeans and hoodie for comfort. He nods, obedient in the softest way, grateful, trusting. He lies on his belly across the bed, the music wrapping around him like silk, the candles casting shadows that sway like breath. She kneels beside him, takes a slow breath, places her palms on his back, not to start working, but just to listen. The first touch is almost nothing, a whisper down his spine, then slow circles at the base of his skull, her fingertips pressing into the spots that hold tension and memory. She strokes along the line of his neck, behind the ears where fear often nests. He exhales. She deepens the pressure, thumbs pressing into the base of his shoulder, then working their way outward, down along the arms, the lower back. Her movements are slow, attuned, not performative, but present. She massages not to fix, but to remind. You are here, you are safe, you are held. And every inch of his body is tended to like an offering. And when she returns to his scalp, fingers weaving through his hair again, her voice breaks the silence, barely. You don't have to tell the story tonight, she murmurs. Just let your body remember what softness feels like. He breathes in, deep and shaky, but this time it's not pain he's holding, it's release. She She worked her way slowly down his back. After a long sacred stretch of silence, she leans over him and whispers softly, "Do you think you can turn around? I want to work on your front too." He nods, and as he shifts, turning onto his back, something changes. The moment she sees his face, her breath catches. Tears, quiet, steady and unchecked, sliding down his temple into the pillow. His jaws trembling, his lips slightly parted like he's been holding something in for far too long now. He's not sobbing, he's releasing. Something old, something deep, something wordless, and she doesn't hesitate. She climbs onto the bed and sits at the head, gently lifting his head into her lap, cradling it like it's the most fragile and sacred thing in the world. No alarm, no panic, just her presence, warm and steady. She wipes the tears away with her thumb, slowly, one side, then the other, then begins massaging his face, first with just the lightest brush of her fingers over his temples, then deeper along the jaw, the bridge of his nose, behind his ears. Her fingertips dance across the forehead in slow, reverent circles. She smooths the lines between his brows with the pads of her thumbs, all while he cries, quietly, completely. "I've got you," she whispers, over and over like a lullaby. She runs her fingers through his hair again, massaging his scalp gently, unlocking more of the pressure behind his temple, behind his eyes. "You don't have to explain a thing," she murmurs. "You don't even need to know what it is. You're allowed to let go. I'll hold it until you're ready to hold yourself again." His chest rises in a deep, ragged breath. Another tear escapes. She kisses it away without thinking, and the two of them stay like that, one weeping, not from weakness, but from finally being seen, the other holding, not to fix, but to honor. This is love, not the fireworks, not the frenzy, but the moment someone lets you fall apart and doesn't flinch. She keeps stroking his hair, fingertips gentle, no pressure for him to speak. And for a while he doesn't, until he does, voice hoarse like the words had to crawl out from someplace deep. "I didn't think I was allowed to fall apart like that." She doesn't say anything, just keeps her fingers moving through his hair, letting him take his time. "I always had to be okay, growing up in school in every relationship. If I broke, I became a burden, a problem to fix, or worse, someone to walk away from." Her hand moves to his cheek again, thumb brushing across skin that's still damp, still real. "But with you," he closes his eyes, "you didn't run, you didn't flinch, you didn't ask me to explain the mess before you offered a hand." She smiles down at him, silent tears pooling in her own eyes now, but not falling, just feeling. He breathes in again, shakily. "You know what the scariest part is?" She hums softly. "What?" "I think I'm starting to believe you. When you say I don't have to earn love, when you touch me like this, hold me like this, I feel like maybe I can stop performing, like I can be this version of me, the broken one, the tender one, the real one." Her voice is barely above a whisper, but it lands like truth. "That's the only version I ever wanted." He looks up at her, eyes red, lashes wet. "And I think I love you more for letting me cry in your lap than I did after everything we did on the kitchen table." She laughs, quietly, ragged and beautiful, then leans down and kisses his forehead. "Good," she says, "because this is the part of love I was always waiting to give." And they stay like that, heads bowed, hearts wide open. No fixing, no shame, just truth, and the beginning of everything real. After a while she looks down at him, running one last gentle stroke across his temple, then smiles, voice warm and certain. "I'm going to run you a bath," she says. He blinks up at her, eyes still glassy but clearer. He nods, grateful and silent. She brushes his hair back, kisses his forehead again. "Any music requests?" she asks, already rising to her feet, stretching the ache from her legs. He lies there for a second, processing, then gives a soft half laugh. Something slow, something that sounds like I'm being sewn back together. She grins. "Got it. Cello and emotional healing, my speciality." She disappears down the hall, and a few minutes later, the sound of water running fills the flat, steady, soothing. She lights a few more candles in the bathroom, the kind that smell like cedar and peace. She adds a few drops of oil to the water, stirs in some salts, sets out a clean towel, a glass of water, a soft robe. Then she cues up a playlist, gentle instrumentals, low hums and piano keys that ache in the best way. The music wraps around a steam-like breath. She turns to him now, sitting on the edge of the bed, eyes soft. "Your bath is ready," she says. He sits up slowly, something in his face between awe and surrender. "Thank you," he says. "I don't think anyone's ever done this for me." She leans in, tucks a hand behind his neck, and presses her forehead to his. "Well," she whispers, "get used to it." He reaches her hand and holds it like an anchor, like it's the only solid thing in the world that just let him fall apart and survive it. "Stay with me," he says softly. "Take it with me." She doesn't hesitate. She slips off her sweater, steps out of her leggings, and follows him in. The water welcomes them both, rising gently around their waists as they sink into it together. He settles first, back against the curve of the tub, and she slides between his legs, leaning back into his chest. His arms wrap around her immediately, tight, grounding, like he needs to feel her breath to remember his own. Neither of them speaks, not for a while. He kisses her shoulder slow. She reaches down and takes one of his hands, bringing it to the surface, and begins to massage it, thumb pressing into the base of his palm, smoothing over each knuckle like a blessing. She does the same on the other, kissing his fingertips one by one. It's quiet, it's reverent, it's safe. She turns slightly in his arms, enough to look back at him, eyes soft, lips parted. He kisses her then, not hungry, not broken, just present. The kiss deepens, slow and sacred, tongues sliding like they've kissed 1,000 times and still aren't done learning each other. His hands rest on her waist now, hers cradling his face, their bodies submerged and pressed together on the warm water in cried promises. His chin rests atop her head, and every now and then he presses a kiss there, absently, like a reflex, like she's become the place his mouth naturally returns to when silence falls. The music shifts, slower still, the cello melting into the low hum, and he exhales like he's finally exhaled all the way down. "I never knew touch could be this, calming," he says, voice almost a murmur against her crown. "That my body didn't have to brace." She doesn't say anything yet, just shifts slightly in the water, tilting her head to kiss his chest, right over his heart. He continues. "It's always used to mean something else. Performance, expectation, control. Even when it was soft, it wasn't always safe." She turns in his arms now, enough to face him fully. "But tonight," he whispers, "this whole day, you didn't ask me to perform a single thing. You just held me, and now..." He trails off, swallowing hard. "Now I don't ever want to go back to anything less." She cups his face slow and warm, her thumbs brush the high points of his cheeks, the curve of his jaw. "You don't have to," she says. "Not with me." Then, slowly, she kisses him again, this time deeper, this time with both of them awake inside. Her hands slide into his wet hair, his arms cradle her hips. Their kiss goes on, unhurried, almost meditative, like prayer spoken in skin. She pulls back just a breath distance and says, "You're safe here, inside this water, inside this moment, inside me." He presses his forehead to hers, eyes closed. I know, he whispers, and he does. They sit like that until the water cools and the candles burn low, two souls folded into each other, not needing to escape anymore, just being together, clean and loved. Dave stepped out of the bath, the air cool against damp skin. She wraps herself in a soft towel, hair dripping down her neck. He does the same, and they move slowly through the stillness, candles still flickering, music now just a distant hum. The room feels more like a sanctuary than a bedroom now, holy and quiet. They sit on the edge of the bed, bodies warm and clean, hands still instinctively finding each other. He glances at her, eyes still glassy with emotion, but steadier now, grounded. I want to learn how to do this for you too, he says, his voice low but firm. To hold space the way you just did, to help you feel what I felt, the kind of safety. I want you to know it in your own skin, from me. She looks at him, eyes wide and suddenly soft in a new way, like he's just spoken directly to some long hidden place inside her. Her hand comes up to his cheek, thumb grazing the edge of his jaw. I've been dreaming about that for years, she whispers. He leans into her hand, still holding his breath. Not just a man who touches me, she continues, but one who can rise to touch without want, without demand, without taking, just touch, honest, present, undressed of agenda. He exhaled slowly, like the truth of it settles into his spine. I've had hands on my body before, she says. Too many that only knew how to touch with hunger or with hope for something in return. Even when it was sweet, it was always leading somewhere. It never just was. She looks down for a moment and back at him, but you, the way you held me tonight, the way you cried in my lap, the way you let me in and let me touch your grief, that's what I've been waiting for. A pause, then quieter. And yes, I want that back from you. Not just sex, not just heat, but the kind of touch that says, I see you and I'm not asking anything from you right now, just presence. He nods slowly, jaw tense with emotions. I'm scared I won't get it right. You don't have to get it right, she says. You just have to stay and listen. He looks at her, barefoot, wrapped in a towel, glowing from the inside out, and says with quiet conviction, Can I try tonight? She searches his face for a moment, then nods, not out of politeness, not out of obligation, but because she trusts him, and because her body is ready to be received, not taken. She reaches for his hand, and they lay together down in the bed, bare and freshly made, with soft sheets that whisper of warmth. She unwraps her towel slowly, unceremoniously, like shedding armor she no longer needs. Then she lies down on her stomach, hair swept to one side, her spine a long line of vulnerability and invitation. He stands beside her for a breath, just watching, not ogling, not objectifying, witnessing. He drops his towel too, not for seduction, for honesty, for presence, for evenness. Then he kneels beside her on the bed. His hands hover above her back for a moment, and she feels it, that holy pause before the first touch. When someone chooses not just where to place their hands, but how. And then he begins. His palms press lightly against her shoulders, warm and still, not needing, not rushing, just making contact, like saying, I'm here, you're not alone. He starts to move, slow strokes down the curve of her back, over the soft lines of her waist. He explores with quiet awe, fingers memorizing the landscape of her body with nothing but intention and care. She's thighs, melts deeper into the bed. He traces her arms next, massaging the tender parts of her forearms, the small bones of her wrists, her palms, her fingertips, kisses the back of each hand. She whispers something. It's not words, not really, just a sound of gratitude. He works down to her legs, tracing along her calves, the arches of her feet, the backs of her knees, No urgency, no agenda, just being here with her. He shifts beside her, and now she turns, slowly, gently onto her back. Eyes closed, lips parted. He touches her face next, his thumb soothing her brow, brushing her cheeks, tracing her jaw like it's the most sacred thing he's ever held. He touches her as if there are poems buried in her skin and he's learning how to read. And then she opens her eyes, meets his gaze and sees it. No hunger, no claim, just devotion. She reaches up, cups his cheeks. "You're doing it," she whispers. He leans down, rests his forehead against hers. "I don't want to stop." And then she whispers without opening her eyes, "Then don't." He stills for a moment, breath catching in his throat, not because she asked for more, but because she gave him permission to stay, to keep being exactly who he is now, gentle and enough. Eventually she reaches for his wrists, fingers threading with his. "Lie beside me," she says softly. He nods and moves carefully, folding himself next to her, chest to chest, foreheads nearly touching. And she does something he's never quite known how much he needed. She pulls him into her arms, wraps around him like warmth, safety, like home. And one hand strokes the back of his neck, the other resting flat against his spine. And when she kisses the top of his head, slow, intentional grounding, he exhales like a man finally allowed to land. "I love you," she says, lips still against his hair. His breath hitches, a small sound of surprise and relief. She kisses him again, softer this time, as if sealing the words into his skin. "I'm always here for you," she continues, whispering now. "You're safe, you're seen, you're home." His hands tighten around her waist, face buried against her collarbone. He doesn't say anything yet. He just rests. Because some "I love yous" don't need answers. They just need time to be believed. And in that bed, wrapped in quiet, wrapped in her, he begins again. He fell asleep in her arms, completely, softly, safe in a way his body had never known how to be before. There was no performance in his sleep, no walls left standing, just breath against her chest, one hand curled at her waist like a tether to something he's finally allowed to trust. But she stayed awake, not restless, not burdened, alive. Something inside her is alight, a kind of glow that comes after giving without being emptied. Her body hums, her chest open and full. At some point around 3 a.m., she slips gently out of bed, careful not to wake him. He stirs, only slightly, sighs and melts deeper into the pillow, wrapped in warmth she left behind. She walks barefoot to the window. The city is quiet outside, breathing in its sleep. She curls up on the windowsill, journal in hand. She doesn't flick on the lamp, just lets the moonlight and leftover candle glow guide her. She writes, "He cried in my arms tonight, and I didn't want to save him. I just wanted to be the place he could fall. He touched me like a prayer, and I didn't feel small. I felt sacred. If this is love, I think I'm ready to keep it." She's mid-sentence when she hears the sheets shift behind her, footsteps quiet and sleepy. "Hey," he whispers, voice rough from sleep. She looks up, surprised. "You okay?" He rubs his eyes, messy haired and beautiful. "Woke up and you weren't there. Felt like someone unplugged the moon." She smiled, sitting the journal down beside her. "Just needed a moment with this guy." He nods, then pads to the kitchen. A few minutes later he returns with 2 mugs, tea for her, something warm and wordless. He hands it over, sits beside her on the windowsill, thigh to thigh. Their shoulders touch, their breath in sync. They sip in silence for a moment. Then he says, "I think tonight changed something in me." She turns to him, searching his face. "I think," he continues, "I stopped trying to prove I was lovable, and I just let myself be loved. She blinks once, twice, then nods slowly. That's all I ever wanted to offer you, she says. A place where you don't have to fight for it or perform, to just be. He reaches for her hand, laces their fingers together. You gave me that, he says, and I didn't know how much I needed it until you did. They sip again. The sky begins to pink at the edges, a quiet promise of dawn. And in the hush of early morning, tea cooling, words still hanging, they don't plan anything. They just sit together, belonging.